Before I went in, my COO said, Jack, I'm just letting you know that this guy is Israeli. He's very direct and might ask you personal questions. I'm like, yeah, I can handle it. And he said, no, but really, can you handle it? And I said, yeah, I can handle it. So we go in, we sit down, there's his chief of staff, myself, and the COO, the four of us. And he says, okay, whose project is this? He said, Jackie's. Great. How many people? What's the budget? I'm firing statistics at him, letting him know what it is. And I said, the hashkafa is you've got to be the change you want to see in the world. Thanks, Gandhi. You've got to put it into action. It's not enough to know. He goes, oh, so what are you doing to be the change? And I'm like, oh, here's one of those questions. I'm telling him what I'm working on, bitachon and musarvad and this and that. And he says, no, why are you single? And I was like, well, I wasn't expecting that. And I said, I don't know why I'm single. I don't know. He goes, no, why are you single? Looking into my soul, And I'm like,
do you ever feel that you know what's best for you and you get confused when Hashem messes up your plan? Well, Jackie Glaser's plan to get married and start a family did not go the way that she planned it. But boy, was she happy that she put her trust in Hashem. This episode is in memory of Shimon David ben Yaakov Shlema, Miriam Sarah bas Yaakov Moshe, and Shendel bas Chaim Yehuda Leib. You will hear from our good friends at Colel Chabad, BF Design, Primal Crisps, J-Wed, Wheel Solis, and Elal. Here we go. Jackie Glaser, also Ariela Glaser in the studio. We're very excited to have both of you. I don't know if Ariela is going to say much on this podcast, but just her presence here, I'm very excited about. So there's a few pivotal moments in your life. Could you take us back to the beginning that you grew up in Australia and you weren't Orthodox at that time? Can you tell us what life was like and what your childhood was like?
Sure. I was actually born in Montreal, Canada.
Oh.
Hence the Jackie is from Jacqueline, French, Quebec, Jacqueline Nicole. And I was the daughter of a Holocaust survivor, my father, who was from Poland. And we were really living in Australia for all of my life. But for 10 years, he was a doctor, lung doctor. And we went to Montreal for his sabbatical. He was with McGill University. And we went there for 10 years. And during those 10 years, I was born. So I was born in Montreal. And then we went back when I was 5 to Australia, to Sydney, Australia, which is a much smaller Jewish community. And I was raised pretty much as like I was not Jewish really, even though I knew both my parents were Jewish. And we had Hanukkah and some semblance of Pesach, but that's it. Not even Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. And life was great in the sense that I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was a psychologist after college. And I thought, my career was peaking. I ended up doing the Today Show, which was the same version that you have here, as the resident psychologist. And I thought, great, life's great. And we have this nudgy relative, everyone has at least one in the family. And she said, go to Israel. And I had no interest. I was so disconnected from anything Jewish. There was probably a survival mechanism of my father. Like, let's just get as far away as possible. And he hid in basements. So he did the Anne Frank thing. And his mother, he was a baby, and his mother went on the run after their whole family were killed in 1 week, literally, like a movie. It's unfathomable. And at the age of 30, I resisted this nudgy relative who was very culturally Jewish. And I went around Europe with my friends and everything was great. And then she started my younger brother. And my younger brother was weak and he gave in. He went to do a birthright in Israel and loved it and stayed on. He stayed at Aisha Torah for a year learning. And I was like, great, you do you. I'm happy for you, whatever. And after he slowly started becoming more observant. And then when he became more and more observant, and as he took on everything, I freaked out. I said, oh my gosh, he's joined some sort of cult. But I had no idea what I was talking about. And I said, I better rescue him. I better help him as my
the big
sister.
You're getting into the cults.
Correct. And he really has the shuls of me following him to Israel. I will say though, I was doing, Today's Show with 1 million viewers thinking I had my life together, but I was saying things like the way to happiness is to embrace who you are. And deep down, I was a Jewish woman, not knowing what it meant to be Jewish at all. And I knew that, and I felt like a hypocrite. So there was a part of me eating away at me at that point. Like, you don't even know what your core identity is. And so that propelled me as well. And I went to Israel and took on all the rabbis and argued a lot about lots of things. And they had really, really, really good answers. And realized a lot of the stuff I believed in psychology, the roots of that was in Torah, actually, and was blown away. And so decided to stay for a while longer, and just more and more and more. Went home, packed up my life, went back on a one-way ticket, ended up being there for 8 years, teaching at Neve Yerushalayim.
Hold on, I need to pause. So, but I had imagined that Today Show was that dream job.
It was.
And I understand you trying to find yourself is very important, but it's still very hard to give up that. It's a really cool job also.
It was really cool. I had a private practice and it was really cool. And I kind of had everything, but I could feel there was something missing, if that makes sense. And I don't know what it was. My brother took me to a rabbi's house for a Shabbat meal, and on the way home I started bawling my eyes out, but I didn't know why. It wasn't sadness and I didn't know why. And that happened about 3 times over a longer period of time. And I was like, what the heck's going on? We just had a nice meal with some grape juice. Like, I don't get it. And I was remember being really affected by Shabbat, but I didn't know why. And I'm really affected by this on some level. I got to check it out. And so I didn't intend to go for a long time. I tended to go for a few weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. Ended up being in Yom Tov Glaser's class, which was hysterical. We all laugh about that now. Thinking, oh, he's cool. Like, he's a cool rabbi. There are cool people who are, because I thought it was so dorky, why I'm embarrassed to say. But yeah, it was really funny. And I found a journal recently with I just met Yom Tov and Leah Glaser. They're so cool. I really like them. I'm really drawn to them. And it's just so funny reading this 20 years later,
Wow.
Anyway, so I think I just felt, I don't know where I got this from, but I had a deep, deep, deep knowing that if you do something for the right reason, for a higher purpose, like go to Israel to get close to God or explore God and my roots, that it would only come back as blessing. Like, even though it was scary to leave the Today Show and I had some moments of absolute freak out, like, what are you doing? Like, definitely had that voice. Like, you are crazy. And they thought I was crazy. That's the team there. It's just like, are you kidding me? Like, they thought, I was like, I know I'm committing career suicide, like, literally. But I did have this belief that if it could be created here, it could be created anywhere. And you don't lose out for choosing something that's right. You don't lose out. It only comes back as blessing. And I had a deep knowing, at least at that point, about that thing. I don't have it with everything. And that's what happened. So I actually left. I left for a while. I didn't know how long.
Were your parents alive at this point?
My dad passed away when I was 17 from cancer. And my mom was alive, but she was kind of let go already because my brother was religious. So she's like, yeah, okay, another crazy kid. Okay, great. But also on some level, we became better kids when we were more aligned with Torah. So
keep it on the aim, hey, it's in your best interest.
She loved it on that level, so
wow, okay.
She accepted it.
And as you were getting more and more religious, did you start to have more complications when it came to dating, or was that within itself a huge shift for you because I don't know who you were dating before, and how did that work?
I mean, it's a completely different world. And I was in Israel. So it was different countries, different worlds, different, and I needed a good 2 years to stabilize, and I say that to my clients now, that if you're dating a Balei Tshuva, give them a good 2 years to feel solid. And that's the minimum, really. So I needed 2 years. And then I just started dating in Israel, which was already a different world. And it was like the shidduch system I did find quite difficult to adjust to, which I know you've had many conversations about.
Sure, no,
let's go.
It's always interesting.
But I did find it very hard that, I don't want to go into all the difficulties, but I did find it very hard to adjust to that. And but then it just wasn't happening, and it wasn't happening, and it wasn't happening. And we didn't know why. And it was just like, I gave up everything. I became observant, loved Judaism, loved. I felt so grateful that I felt like Hashem had just plucked my brother and I out of nowhere. Golis, Shibboleth, Sydney, Australia, as much as I love Sydney and love the Jews there. Like, how did that happen? Must be shuls on some level. Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever based on how we were raised, except my father was a genius. I can say that now, but he's not alive, but a genius in medicine and science. He was a scientist. And he really gave us both a passion for pursuing truth. That meter was really in us, of being curious, not being scared of it. And if it's true, go for it. That was his passion. And I think that probably led us to Torah, eventually seeing the MS for what it was.
So officially, what age did you become Orthodox?
When do you become Orthodox?
When, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
keeping Shabbos. I'm not sure.
Right. So
whatever you considered it.
I know. So firstly, I avoided that word like the plague.
Orthodox.
I did not want to be Orthodox. And I avoid it now when I teach for curative purposes. because it's got a bad rap.
Oh, it's funny because like I used to say like, oh, when you become religious, and my friend is like, that's not PC. Like they could have been religious before, just not the religious. And then I started shifting to Orthodox. So if you have a new term,
I have a new term.
Yeah, please.
Observant. Yes,
Got it.
Much more neutral.
Okay,
it's so funny.
Keep progressing.
Yeah, so I avoid religious and Orthodox for the same reason.
Right.
Generally, I mean, not now in the observant world. I'm just
Right.
saying, not in the Orthodox world. I just did Kira for 13 years, so I was used to it. But I became Shomer Shabbat probably around age 30,
Wow.
31 maybe, like, dabbling and growing. And I had very wonderful teachers that guided me in the process of growth in a small, steady way so I could sustain it, because it's a big problem. A lot of people get very inspired, take on everything and then rebound back. And so I was in Israel, which is like, it's like you're riding on a cushion. It's very easy. The test is when you come back home and like, what do you have to keep? Every little decision is a decision, especially in Sydney. So I stayed in Israel I went back and forth for visits, but I stayed there for 8 years. But I was learning full time for 5 years, which was such a blessing at my age. At that age, I definitely had moments where I was like, what are you doing? You're in the middle of your life. You're crazy. And then, again, my teachers were like, no, this is not just for you. You'll give back. You'll be using this for Klal Yisrael. And it just felt right. I definitely am an anomaly on every single stage of life and every phase of life in every way. I'm so outside the box that it's not even threatening. Like, it's like, there's no point even trying to be in the box. It's like, I from the get-go, everything has been just unique, and which is pros and cons, to that. So I was just so grateful that Hashem, really, I felt he saved us, based probably on some ancestor praying, and end up teaching at Neve Yerushalayim for 2 years, which was also a blessing, or not planned, not intended. So Hashem was guiding me, in this journey in ways that I wasn't pursuing necessarily. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was going to go back to Australia, do psychology, but can't live there as a frum Jew so easily. It's very, very small. Didn't want to move to Melbourne, which is bigger. So where am I going? Like, I don't have roots anywhere. Wasn't American. And thank God I got sponsored to come to America, also for dating, because it wasn't happening in Israel, and to work in outreach and Kiruv here, which I loved. It was such a blessing and privilege to do. And the dating was better. So I stayed in America, in New York, for 8 years, and it still wasn't happening.
Now, if you're thinking about a construction project, the architectural firm you choose will shape everything that follows. That's why I want to tell you about BF Design, a leading architectural firm serving the frum community. Because a great architect doesn't just make a building look good. They determine how intelligently it functions, how efficiently the space is used, and how many costly problems are avoided before construction ever begins. And when you're building for the frum community, there's another layer that isn't optional. Your architect needs to understand how your world actually works. For more than 20 years, BF Design's architects have designed thousands of projects, custom homes and full developments, yeshivas and school campuses, shuls, nursing homes, healthcare facilities, office buildings, and major commercial projects. Because you shouldn't have to teach your architect how a base matters functions, how a frum family lives, or how a school needs to flow, or the countless nuances that determine whether a building truly works for the people using it. Those aren't extras. They're fundamentals to getting the architecture right. Now, BF Design combines that deep understanding with sophistication, resources, and specialized teams you expect from a top architectural firm. So when the project is significant and you want it done right from the start, BF Design should be one of your first calls. BF Design, architects who understand what you're building and who you're building it for. Visit bfdesign.com and reach out to get your project started. So here's the truth. There are lots of Jewish dating platforms out there today, but very few that have actually stood the test of time. Jewishpod has been around for over 25 years, and we're not talking about just being around. We're talking about over 4,000 verified marriages, real people and real homes, real mishpachas. And what's wild is how it started. A small basement apartment in Passaic, New Jersey. Some of you might even remember it as Frumster, right? That was what it was called. Back then, people looked at it like, okay, maybe if everything else doesn't work. Today, everyone knows someone who met their spouse there. Jewishpod has tens of thousands of serious marriage-minded singles, all backgrounds, all hashkafas, from Hasidish to modern Orthodox, from New York to Yerushalayim. and everything in between. But here's what stood out to me when I spoke to Derek Saker, the co-founder. More than 77% of the marriages are between people from different cities or different countries. Think about that. It's not about who's closest, it's about who's right. And this stat really hit me. Over 65% of the marriages started with women sending their first message. And that's a shift. That's people taking responsibility for their future. Not waiting, not hoping, but they're actually doing. At the end of the day, you're not looking for the most convenient match. You're looking for your bashar. So if you're serious about building a home, go take that step and find your chosen one on jwed.com. Okay, I am telling you all right now, and please quote me on this. Primal Crisp is the next wave of kosher food. Delicious. We had the sushi craze. We had jerky craze. Now it is meat chips and chicken chips. Really so good. I'm especially excited that they're advertising with us because I genuinely love their stuff. They sent me a box months ago and my wife and I were fighting over who gets to eat all of it. Primal Crisp makes Glaser kosher meat chips. They're thin, crispy, crunchy pieces of real meat and they're seriously delicious. Each bag has between 30 and 40 grams of protein, which makes it such an easy high protein snack for work, traveling, the gym, or just when you need something between meals. And look at these ingredients: meat, salt, and spices. There's no sugar, no preservatives, no seed oils, and no unnecessary fillers. They have first cup brisket, fatty second cup brisket, my personal favorite, Texas heat. They have barbecue chicken, shawarma chicken, and I've been loving and trying all of these. Seriously, my family is fighting over them. I really think Primal Crisp is going to become a staple in the kosher world. So I'm excited to have them on board. You could go to primalcrisp.com to get them. Of course, you can see them in select grocery stores. And of course, if you get them on primalcrisp.com, that's crisp with a K, use code word INSPIRE for 15% off your first order. Inspire on primalcrisp.com. Go ahead, get into it. Sorry for tuning your ears, everyone.
At that point, was there resentment to Hashem? Like, I gave him my whole life. I became, and maybe it's better for me, but still, like, you're not having my back.
We're going to go there. We're going to go there.
If you want,
okay,
I don't know.
Okay, we're going to go there. Yes, I felt betrayed. I felt betrayed and angry. I mean, I wasn't bitter, cynical, but because I really, really felt the love from Hashem, becoming from the way I did. And the hashgacha pratis was just so insane that, like, I couldn't actually really believe that Hashem didn't love me or was betraying me because there was so much evidence to the contrary. But in this area, I felt abandoned and I couldn't understand how this could happen, that I had given up everything. Not that Hashem needs me to, it wasn't arrogant. It was like, I really gave up everything for you. And all I'm doing is helping your children come back to you. That's all I want to put my energy to in Kiruv, is helping your lost children come back to you. And here I am with no parents. Like, my mother was not well, so I was really her parent at that point. With no parents, I have one brother, no aunts, no uncles, no cousins because of the Holocaust, and I'm alone, really, really alone. And I feel abandoned. And I was now at this point, I was in my 40s, which is, in the Jewish world, that's death, So I'm just being a little bit, sarcastic, but it is. I mean, but I felt abandoned. I felt really, really abandoned. And that was really, I think that feeling abandoned, and which I obviously had a wound if my dad died early. I probably had that wound too, but that was, and we do project by the way, that's a fascinating concept, that we project our relationship with our usually opposite sex parent onto Hashem, or often father figure, often onto Hashem if he's like father. But that was the place I had to wrestle in myself. That was the beginning of the Yeshua of building myself. Like, it was being left in the darkness looking back. I didn't know it then, that the wrestling with it built me in ways that you can't know when you're in it. And that's what happened. And it wouldn't have happened had I not been in the darkness.
What shifted? There was like a giving up and saying, Hashem, you just take control, and until that point you didn't? The
stronger the will, the harder this is. The letting go is, right? And I have a very strong personality, strong will. And it really happened. I mean, a lot of people know my story as far as there was a pivotal turning point for me where I went into, I still got teary, sorry. Where I went into, I was working for Olami, which is a Jewish outreach organization. Sure, everyone knows, yeah. And I was director of leadership development, which was for young leaders all around the world, which I loved. I was so blessed and grateful for this opportunity to do that. And we went into a big donor's office for funding. And I was going in with the COO, and Princess is moving. and I was really excited. But before I went in, my COO said, Jack, I'm just letting you know that this guy is Israeli. He's very direct. Can you handle it? He's going to might ask you personal questions. I'm like, yeah, I can handle it. And he said, no, but really, can you handle it? And I said, yeah, I can handle it. And he said, okay, so just warning you. I'm like, okay. So we go in, we sit down, there's his chief of staff, myself, the COO, the four of us. And he says, okay, whose project is this? He said, Jackie's. Great. How many people? What's the budget? I'm firing statistics at him, letting him know what it is. And I said, the hashkafa is you've got to be the change, you want to see in the world. Thanks, Gandhi. You've got to put it into action. It's not enough to know. He goes, oh, so what are you doing to be the change? And I'm like, oh, here's one of those questions. I'm telling him what I'm working on, bitachon and musarvad and this and that. And he says, no, why are you single? And I was like, well, I wasn't expecting that. And I said, I don't know why I'm single. I don't know. He goes, no, why are you single? Looking into my soul, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm single. The other two were just looking down in their lap, like really intensely. And I'm like, I don't know. And he says, no, you know what you need to do? And I'm like, what do I need to do? Don't you love these people with advice? He said, you need to go home today and you need to tell Hashem, I accept. And he bangs the table and I'm like, accept what? And he said, you got to accept. You tell Hashem, I accept whatever you decide, no matter what it is. And that was the nakuda of bitachon that I was struggling with, deep, deep down inside myself, that no one really knew about, but God knew, and put this in words in this person's mouth. How I couldn't accept it. I just couldn't accept what God was deciding for me. But I knew it didn't make sense because I saw how much he loved me in other areas and that he was in my life. It's not like I was disconnected. I just couldn't accept it. So when this person, random CEO, says this to me, why this had to be this person and not all the other Rebbes and Makubals or whatever I went to at some point, not that I never ran around to Makubals, but I had other access to big Rabbonim. No, it wasn't the Rav, it was some CEO. It undid me. And I burst into tears, totally unprofessionally. It was so not like me to do that. And I said, I try. And some days I can and some days I can't. Accept and trust. He says, but just do it because it's a choice. Trust is a choice. And he said, and go home and choose trust and watch what happens because all Hashem wants is our trust. He said, watch what happens. And I was a mess. I was bawling. He was like, he pressed that button, some nerve. And the other two were like literally wishing they were invisible. That was it. They were no longer in the conversation. It was just me and him about my personal life. We didn't discuss all of me. Very unprofessional meeting. But I couldn't help it. And it's the only time that ever happened. And afterwards, he said, I like her. She's real. I want to work with all of me. And he runs out. And I look at the chief of staff and I said, I'm so sorry. And he's just shaking his head, laughing. He said, no, that was the meeting. He goes, that was the best meeting we've had in 2 weeks, And we started working with him in different ways, but for me, I couldn't stop weeping for a number of days, but it wasn't sadness. I didn't know what it was. It was a weeping. And I felt this rawness in my heart, like something had been ripped off, or latalev. This felt like there was I'd never experienced this before. And I went to my Rav's that week for Shabbat in Philly, and I told him the story, and then I just did a meditation to myself of just one of those moments of honesty with yourself where you ask yourself a question and you're really honest. Not always that we can be so honest with ourselves even. But I remember thinking, why can't I trust? Why can't I trust? And back came this little voice, because you're judging yourself as a failure and you're blaming Hashem for it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. I was like, I had this epiphany. I'm doing this to myself. I'm judging myself as feeling a loser, a nebach, because I'm not married. But I'm blaming, how could you do this to me? But really this was, I was feeling so bad about myself. And I realized this is a singles problem, really, across the board, that I work with now. But that I was really doing it to myself because I was buying into all the judgment and all the fear. And I made a decision at that point, and I said, I'm not doing that anymore. That's it. No matter what happens, I'm not doing that. I am not judging myself anymore. I am not less than because I'm not married. I am not unlovable. I am not good enough. There's nothing wrong with me because I'm not married. And I said, that's it. I'm not doing that to myself again. It was a very deep decision. And then I turned to Hashem and said, and if this is not what I want, but if it's what you want, what the CEO said, if it's what you want, I'll do my best with it, but it will break my heart. And I was so sincere. I was bawling my eyes out. I'm like, this is not what I want, but if it's what you want, I will try. And the next day, my husband was suggested.
Wow.
That was the turning point. That was the mind-blowing revelation about how much power Hashem gives us to co-create our lives with him. That it really, really does depend on the vessel that we show up with. Even though everything's up to Hashem and he can give us whatever he wants when he wants, we have to be a vessel. And my judgment and negativity was making myself small, very, very small. And I didn't even realize I was doing that. Is that the reason I wasn't married? Oh, that's the reason. No, we don't know that. Most of my dating life, my husband was married. So, he's definitely my zivug. Like there's no, so I'm saying that because I get hesitant. I get scared because people hear one thing and go, oh, that's it. No, there's not one quick fix. This was a nakuda that was a very big one for me in my growth that needed to happen. And it allowed for me to be a bigger vessel to receive, but it's not necessarily the reason that, we didn't get married earlier, let's say.
Right. It's so funny because literally yesterday my Rav was speaking and he mentioned this idea that naturally, like we all do that naturally, like we're trying to be in control and navigate our life. And we see ourselves as big and Hashem is the small thing in our life.
Right.
And it's really the reverse.
Right.
Like Hashem's the big thing and we're the small thing. And we want to attach to the big. And,
right.
and it's
right.
just
so how do we
popping
do
that bubble of
letting go.
Right.
It's really letting go and surrendering. That's really what happened, at least in that moment. I mean, it's a lifelong avoda, and I wish I had it in every area of my life now, which I didn't. But I felt like I got into the right place at the right time for a moment, and Hashem gave me the bracha, right? Like because of that. And that's really what I teach singles now. I believe that's the best ishtadlus to do. That is the best ishtadlus, more than running around to shadchans and what. You still need to do that practical ishtadlus, but it's the inner. It's the inner, and it's visceral. It has to be visceral. You have to feel like Hashem's got your back. And if you don't, then that's the work we need to do.
Wow.
And that was the pivotal turning point. And it was really clear that he was my husband straight away.
Do you still are connected to that CEO or?
Oh, so when we got engaged, like we dated a very short amount of time and then like a few months. But we knew really, I knew we actually both knew on the second date. We had a crazy dream. It's a different story, which was weird, bizarre. It's not my type at all to have those kinds of things. But when they flew him out because that Olami leadership program happened in Spain in Toledo, and I was running this program, and they flew him out as a surprise. Everyone knew except me, and he was John Doe on the thing, and he proposed to me in Spain as a surprise. And when he proposed to me, then we called that CEO at 1 a.m. from Spain and said, "Remember that? Remember you made me cry?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, we just got engaged." It was like a few months later, 6 months later. And he said, "Wait, what did I say?" He didn't even remember what he said, which means it was really Hashem guiding the whole thing. Right. It was very clear.
That's wild. Okay. And I think if we just ended the episode there, it'd be like, great. That's wild. That's beautiful. Baruch Hashem. But
my personal favorite part of the entire episode is coming up. But first, you have heard me talk about Colel Chabad Pushka App before. So if you still haven't downloaded it, here's my pitch. Just do it. To me, it is probably the smartest way to ensure that you're consistently giving tzedakah every day. You download it once, set your reminders, and now wherever you are, at home, work, traveling, Israel, you'll always have a pushka with you. And that's the key. We all want to give more tzedakah, but life gets busy and we forget. The app removes that excuse. It reminds you to give in seconds, and you will love knowing that tzedakah is becoming a consistent part of your life. And you will feel amazing knowing that the tzedakah is going towards Colel Chabad, helping the neediest people in Israel. And they have been around for over 200 years. And your money is going to the people who need it most. On the Pushka app, you can start with just $1 a day. And it's not about how much you give each time. It's about becoming someone who gives every single day. I don't know, give $500 a day for all I care. So don't just hear me talk about it again. Take out your phone, download the Colel Chabad Pushka app, scan the QR code wherever it is on the screen, set a reminder, and start giving today. You download the app at pushkapp.cc/inspo. Of course, click the link in the show notes. Now, if you're looking to lease a car, there's a reason Wheels to Lease is the #1 leasing company in the tri-state area, according to me. They don't just get you into a car. They take care of you throughout the entire process, from helping you find the right vehicle, getting you a great deal, to answering your questions and making the entire experience as easy peasy as possible. Their team is there for you. So give Saul a call at 718-871-8715. Go to an email, inspire@wheelslease.com, or you go to the website, wheelslease.com/inspire, or you can send a WhatsApp to them. The link is down below. Get the lease of your dreams today with Wheels to Lease. Now, we've flown El Al plenty of times, but a few years ago, I decided to take another airline. We're not making that mistake again. It wasn't more reliable, the prices weren't better, and the overall experience just was not the same. I've got 2 trips to Israel coming up. One is next week, another in 3 months for some really big interviews. And when I'm traveling for work, I need reliability. And I know that I'm getting the best when it comes to El Al and going to Israel. For me, El Al is the most reliable way to get to Israel. They understand the route. They understand the Jewish traveler. And every time I fly with them, the experience gets better and better. And if Hanukkah in Israel is even on your radar, now is the time to book. Getting your tickets now is a smart investment. You lock in your trip early and have one less thing to worry about and get the best prices as Hanukkah gets closer. Whether you're traveling for business, visiting family, or spending Hanukkah in Eretz Yisrael, fly El Al and travel with confidence. Now back to this week's episode.
But we have another person here. Could you tell us your journey to Ariela?
Yeah, I mean, I think once I'd surrendered getting married, this was much easier because that was really where I was in the sort of swamp of darkness and despair, was being single and dealing with those deeper feelings. And then once we got to this, was like I'd frozen my eggs, which I highly, highly, highly recommend that singles do to take the pressure off, really. And I'd frozen my eggs, but in my mid-30s, because that back then it wasn't so common. And 14 years later, we went back to use those eggs. Like, it was unbelievable. And we've been married 5 years. We didn't do it in the first 5 years because there was a lot going on in our personal lives, and I didn't think we had the bandwidth for it. And it just didn't happen. Hashem had the perfect timing. And we went back 14 years later, and we had one shot, one viable embryo. And we knew that this was like one vial of oil. Literally, like, Hashem, here's the little piece of ishtadlus for the natural world that you need to make it seem like it looks natural. But we knew this is such a long shot in a way. Like, it's such a miracle that this one vial of oil, it's up to you whether you want to, bring this down. And we were very surrendered, meaning we were like, we really want this, but whatever you want. And I really feel that that's been the learning for me over and over again, is that firstly, trying to internalize Hashem has really got my back, and he's really our Father. Really, really, really our Father loves us very much. And only once you have really worked on that and have that at some level viscerally in your body, which is obviously still a lifelong process, then you can really surrender to Malkeinu, which is that you're the king and you're ruling my life and your decisions are what's best. And the reason why I was struggling with that so much when I was single is because I didn't have the Avinu piece in there. I was only trying to just accept this is what you want, but I felt like he was punishing me. And I think that's very common. I think a lot of people feel like Hashem's somehow punishing me, or I'm something wrong with me. I did something wrong. I'm bad. There's a deep feeling of I'm bad is what I see along all the different types of singles I work with. That's common. So it's very important, I think, in our generation to work on the fact that Hashem loves us, and and feeling that love first. And then it becomes easier to surrender to his decisions, especially if they're not what we want. So we were there at that point, and we said, whatever you want, we want this, but like really, really whatever you want, we'll accept it. We'll accept if it's a no. And again, I think that allows, that spaciousness of acceptance allows for a bigger vessel. I don't know if that's the reason, or she obviously needs to come down, but it was absolutely, we found out, like, officially there was, you get a blood test result that's official, or official Pesach, when the C split was the time of the email that came from the clinic. And, we were just blown away when we realized that the timing in the day that Hashem was revealing himself to us. And then she was born in Hanukkah, of course, which was literally the oil. She was the oil. And it's been the most unbelievable, joyous gift ever. And I really hope she already has. I got thousands and thousands of messages of people saying, you don't know me, but I was bawling my eyes out when I heard your news. You don't know me, but I was hysterical in Gluttmart when I read on, So she's been a light already to so many. And we named her Ariela because Ari is my dad's name and Leah was my mom's name. She passed away in COVID. And Ariela is the same letters. And I said, let's just wait. My husband got that flash actually 4 or 5 months ago before she was born. And And I said, let's just wait and see what her personality is. And because it's like a lion, she just smiled. It's so funny. Like a lioness of God. You know, Ariela really means lioness of God. And when she was born, she's still like, I try and change her diaper and she like straightens her legs and she doesn't let me. And then when I relax, she lets me when she wants it. And then passy, she's like, And then when I take the passy away, she's like, I'll do it on my time. I'm like, okay, she's a lion. Like she really is an Ariela. So we named her Ariela.
What would your parents say if they were here to see her?
Well, it was so important to me to name after my parents because there really is no one else. And I think they would just get enormous nachas. I think there's something that was a very deep existential angst in me that I wasn't creating a legacy for my father, particularly because he was a Holocaust survivor. And I think that they are watching and they are seeing. And maybe in their merit somehow she's here, but it's like renewed life. It's chiyas hameisim, literally, for me.
Do you look back at your life and you're still very young, so Mishlam, you have a lot more to go, but the life that you've had until now, do you look back and realize like, okay, that's why everything was in the moment it was at?
It's the tapestry is revealed more and more, but I still feel like I'm in the middle of the story. But yes, looking back, I don't know why the ages had to be so late. Like, why did I have to become frum at 30 and not 20, 25? You know, because that would have made it easier. But as my Rav says, Klal Yisrael needs characters like this. You know, as in they need the stories for the hope and the whatever. And maybe if it wasn't so hard to believe, if it wasn't so extreme, it might have been not as big a deal. I don't know why. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that Hashem has allowed me to help others or be a light to others in the struggle and understanding. Like I really feel with singles, the reason why I went into working with singles full time, I made a deal with God. I said, if you get me married, I'll help singles, like as if he needs my help. But sometimes in the darkness, you make deals with God. And after, I was still working in Kiev and I thought, okay, I'll do my class as my token thank you to God after I got married. And I did a class called There's Nothing Wrong With You, a fresh perspective on dating. And I did it in partnership with Soyu at Sinai. And I think they just sent out one email blast announcing it and 300 and something people came. I was like, whoa. And halfway through, a lot of people were turning off their cameras. It was on Zoom. And I was like, they're bored, they're checking email. And after that, 30 something people, so 10%, emailed me privately and said, I'm sorry, I turned my camera off. I was absolutely bawling. No one speaks to us this way. I said, what way? And they're like, empowering, like that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. That there's nothing wrong with you. It doesn't mean you don't have things to work on and correct. I deal with that all the time. Working at the root and the subconscious belief systems. That's really my thing, is teaching people how to tune into themselves. But you got to start with Hashem loves you and you're good and you're lovable and worthy no matter what. You don't need marriage for that. It is such a myth. It is such a mistaken belief. You're good and you have to know you're good, because if you think there's something wrong with you, then you date from the place of there's something wrong with me. I'm buying into that. I'm a nebach, I'm a loser. And that just destroys the dating process. You can't, it's full of fear. And so, I don't know. I don't know why it needed to happen. I'm just grateful that Hashem has allowed it to be a positive impact on some level.
It's just wild to think of like you and your stage right now. Like imagine like your 25-year-old self would see your life today. It's just so different. It
would never have been anything I could have ever imagined, ever. And that's what keeps me going when things happen if they happen in a different way that I don't want. I'm like, if you'd ever told me I would have even been religious, I would have said, no way. If you'd ever, So am I on some level, sad that I don't have a whole bunch of big kids running around and whatever? Yeah. Am I sad I'm going to be older mom? Yeah. But I'm not. Like it is what it is. It's meant to be what it's meant to be. And like I really, really believe Hashem's looking after me and he's looking after all of us.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
In terms of the coaching that you do, who's like the typical kind of person who reaches out? And also for someone watching, if they're like, she's awesome, let me be connected, what's the best way they could find you?
Yeah, I typically we just started working with men too, but I think mostly one-on-one they like. I have a whole course that I do for women, but the course is not group therapy. No one's going around telling their personal stories. It's really teaching people a method of how to tap into what's really going on under the surface. Like if you just get like anxiety in your gut, or you just feel like you dread dating, or you have one and dones constantly, you don't know why, or you're not getting any dates. Like, I hate to say it, it's not just because it's the shidduch crisis. There's like, firstly, there's no such thing, whatever. I mean, there might be statistically, but for you personally, there isn't. That's what, that's really the truth. And so we have to look inside. I really believe the patterns in our dating, I deal with singles probably the ages of mid to late 20s, early 30s to mid 30s. So mid 20s to mid 30s are my bulk, who are dating and dating, it's not happening. And I really feel that it's part of Hashem showing part of our tikkun that we need to do. Not then you'll get married because we don't know. I don't play God. But you can't ignore it. You can't ignore the inner hishtadlus. You have to do spiritual hishtadlus, betachon and tefillah. You have to do your practical hishtadlus, and you have to do your inner hishtadlus. And yes, other people get married without it. But if you're not married yet and you haven't done this work, I really believe it's a chiyuv for all of us, because anyway, a Jew is meant to always grow. And so often there's levels of tikkunim to do and things to shift internally that are around our belief systems and about how we feel and about building that vessel. And for many of them, not all, but many, once they start to shift that, then amazing dates come in. It's not magic. It's not a quick fix. It's a work in progress. And I get many notices of I'm engaged, like a few number of months after the program that say, I don't know if I could have done this without knowing myself more deeply. The biggest two goals that people come in with, which is across the board, the same thing, self-worth and self-trust. Meaning there's a lack of self-worth. I don't feel worthy without being married. And I don't trust myself in the decision-making process. So I go round and round, ruminating around, asking lots of friends and rebbes and rebbitzins, and I don't really, what do you think? But no one can tell you who to marry. No one can tell you not to marry. You have to decide it. But if you don't know how to decide and you don't trust yourself, you're in trouble. You got to work out how to be in tune with yourself.
I wish I would have done your thing.
Right,
I mean, Baruch Hashem, I'm happily married, but it's the skill sets that you don't get.
It's not just for marriage. Yeah, I mean, now I've got, since the baby, I've had.
Have you had married people that done
I've had married people. Many married women now come and say, or they say, I want to have children.
Right.
Firstly, this is not a fertility course or a dating course. It just, that's the test Hashem's put you in at the time to do this deeper work.
Right. It's a symptom. It's
a symptom.
Right.
It's the issue that Hashem's given you. But like, Hashem keeps putting us in test after test after test of the unknown, the uncertainty, from single, married. Are you going to get married? Are you going to have kids? When are you going to have kids? Are the kids going to be healthy? What about difficult kids? Like, every stage of life, we're always in a stage of unknown, uncertainty. And the biggest tragedy people could make is just to say, oh, it'll happen when it happens. But like, I'm not going to do the work. Do the work. Do the work. It doesn't have to be with me. Do it with whoever. Do the inner work and get someone who can work at the subconscious level. That's the key. Talk therapy is good to a point. It's insightful, gives you awareness. Sometimes that's enough to bring consciousness to something. Often it's not. Most of my clients say, I've done therapy and it was good to a point, but I still can't change how I feel. And that's because it's happening at the body visceral level. And the body is a reflection of what's going on in the subconscious. The subconscious is part of the brain we're not aware of. And you have to learn how to tap into that, which you can. The average person can. That's what I teach people. I'm going to show you how to connect to your subconscious through the sensations and the emotions in your body. And then you're going to be able to process them and dialogue and have a relationship with yourself and start accepting and liking and loving all the parts of yourself so that you can then work with them. Because if you're rejecting parts of am I getting too deep here?
No,
but
this is great.
Okay. But if you reject parts of yourself, if we reject parts of ourselves, it's like putting parts of ourselves into gullus. And when you're in gullus, you're in gullus. You're stuck. What we want to do is go back and start to look at all the parts and bring them together with a sense of achdus internally. And that creates the shift that you need to become that bigger vessel. And so we really want to confront any parts of us that they can be hijacking our lives from the darkness, hijacking, self-sabotaging over and over again. If you know you self-sabotage, if you have the same pattern over and over again, you're the common denominator of that pattern. And so that means that's the work that you need to do. It's a good thing, not a judgmental thing. You got to get out of judgment. So the first thing I teach people is to approach yourself with compassionate curiosity, which I will teach Ariela as soon as.
You know what? I think she could maybe she wants to be on the mic. So many people probably look at her like they're part of the nace over here. No,
who's part of the nace?
They don't even know you, but they see you and they see that she's here and
yeah. Hey, Baba. Yeah. Are you cold?
She's really cute. For
Very
those
cute.
listening,
Hi.
I could confirm she's very cute.
She's very cute. Hi, Baba.
So your course, is there a link?
Oh,
is there
Instagram is probably for those on Instagram. Instagram's good.
Yeah, well, we'll link and anything you're saying
link,
below.
and then the Inner Circle is a website we can give you as well for the You can find me on JackieGlaser.com. It's just not, I don't know if it's so up to date with this specific course that I'm doing and everything, but you can find me there, JackieGlaser.com or Instagram, Dating by Jackie G.
Amazing. Jackie Glaser, Ariela Glaser, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Ooh.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to this week's episode. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a mazel tov for the Glazers on the birth of their daughter. Yes, this episode was recorded a bit ago, but definitely go check out Mrs. Glazer's latest courses. Some fantastic stuff. Thanks again to our friends at El Al, Colel Chabad, Wheels Delis, Primal Chris, J-Wed, and BF Design. Now, here's my takeaway. There's always a balance we're supposed to live with. We have to do our hishtadlus. We have to make the calls, put ourselves out there, work hard, take the steps that are in our control. But hishtadlus doesn't mean we control what happens next. And Jackie's story shows that so powerfully. She did what she could to find her husband. She tried, she hoped, and she put in the effort. But at some point, she had to let go and trust Hashem. And that's when her family began to grow. She found her husband. Then came the next chapter. She wanted a child. And once again, there was hishtadlus. There was effort and hope and trying. And once again, she reached the point where she had to let go. Then came her daughter. Sometimes we think letting go means giving up, and it doesn't. We do everything we can, and when we recognize that the rest was never in our hands, Jackie did her part, then she let Hashem take the wheel. And sometimes that's when the road finally opens up. This episode is a reminder that inspiration is everywhere. L'chaim.
Living L'chaim.